Alright, so third Q&A session of the year. So, my name is Yoon, also known as the world's finest Navy sailor, LSSR Kim. So, before I begin, what I wanted to say to you, if you're new to my channel, you're watching the Q&A session for the first time, I make the Q&A sessions every Saturday. And the reason why you need to subscribe to my channel is because when I first decided to join the Navy, I did it out of a spontaneous emotional decision just to join. So I didn't do my due diligence in the beginning to educate myself on the Navy life. And the type of videos that I provide you, and the reason why you should subscribe, is because I present different ideas, different views, and I try to even convince you otherwise. Hey, maybe the Navy life isn't for you. Maybe what you need to do is to focus on your life right now. Maybe, instead of changing the path of your direction, maybe you need to improve on yourself, improve internally before you change the external factors. So I provide different angles, different views, and I come at you every single day with even my daily life. And I share with you my feelings, what I learned today, a typical day of mine, like 11-hour workday. So I give you those type of videos, right? And the reason why I make it isn't for the sake of making it. The reason why I make the videos that I do is because when I first joined the Navy, there wasn't anyone doing the type of things that I'm doing, answering every single question to the best of my ability, presenting different videos, presenting different ideas, and even trying to convince you not to join and even showing you why you should join. So I present to you different ideas, different things every single day, something to think about. So I highly recommend you subscribe because you need to take advantage of the resources that is literally available at your fingertip. Okay, so to begin, first question comes from Magtech Blue. So can you pass on the GI Bill, Montgomery GI Bill? So yes, you can. Now, there is special requirements. There is a certain number of years that you need to, the person who is active duty or even in the reserve, that they need to be with the Navy or with the military for a certain number of years. I believe, from what I can recall, it's either 6 or 10. And how that process would go is you need to write up a special request to the Department of Defense, and then it's up to them if they want to approve that or not. So, for the person who is on active or in reserves, they can find out much more detailed information from their chain of command, and that's how you would start. And so next question comes from future Sailor Galloway, which relates to the first question as to what is the Montgomery GI Bill, aka Post 9/11. So what it is, it's basically, let's say I am out of the Navy, right? And I want to go to school, and I live in Virginia, and I want to go to school in California. So what Montgomery GI Bill would provide is, let's say I want to go to a school in California, college in California, for example, Community College of California, let's say, for example. And what they would do is they would, number one, provide me money, give me money to pay for college. At the same time, depending on where I want to live, the area of where I want to live, they would give me enough money for housing. Alright, so that is what Montgomery GI Bill is in the just essence, in a small bird's eye view of what it is. When you are in boot camp, they do go over with you in full detail what the Montgomery GI Bill is and what you can do with it during the first week in boot camp. So it's called the processing week, when you can sign up for it, and you would pay $100 a month for a year. And the bare minimum requirement is you need to be on active duty for 3 years and get out with an honorable discharge. Yes. So next question comes from future Sailor Edmonds, and he asks, how long does it take to go to boot camp after MEPS? So after you go to MEPS, you sign up, sign your life for the next 4, 5, or 6 years at bare minimum. How long does it take to go to boot camp? So you need to look at least bare minimum of 90 days. So you're not going to leave like a week after. No, you can even like negotiate. I mean, you can even say, talk to the person who's, you know, signed up the contract. Say like, hey, I want to know, is there opening availability towards maybe, you know, 6 months later, or 7 or 8, 9, whatever, 10. You know, if you don't want to go, like, let's say it's like a December period, you would say like, hey, you know, I don't want to go in December because that's family time, Christmas. Can you push my date to another date? So you want to take care of that in the initial process. All right. So next question comes from future sailor Gonzalez in regards to dental issues. So if you have any dental issue, would it be hindrance when you are in the MEPS, you know, when they're checking you out for your health and all that kind of stuff? So in particular, I mean, when I was in boot camp and even after A school, there were people with a lot of, like, you know, cavities, and people who needed root canals and all this kind of stuff. So in my personal opinion, it's not something that you need to worry about. However, it doesn't hurt to get it checked out. If it's something like I made a previous video of you know, in regards to dental in my channel. I'll link that in the description down below. In my opinion, get any dental work that you need done before you go to boot camp. It's just much better in general. You don't want, because when you are in boot camp, the only thing that you want to focus on is, you know, making it through boot camp. You know, when your mouth hurts and then you get your dental done and you can't eat properly, and then if you can't eat properly, you can't do the push-ups properly because you don't have enough energy. So there's more things that trickle down because you didn't get one thing done. And then when you're in boot camp, with the boot camp stress, now there's dental stress, and now there's, you know, I can't eat well stress, and there's many different stress that piles up. So take care of any dental work before you leave for boot camp, and that is my own best recommendations. And also check with your recruiter. So next question comes from future sailor Souza, I believe. I don't know if I said that correctly, but so in regards to asthma, so I personally know of people who are in the Marines, who are in the Army, who are even in the Navy that have asthma. So in my personal opinion, it's not going to hold you back. I mean, there are people that I've seen with, you know, worse medical conditions. There was one person that I saw in boot camp. She only had like one eye. I'm not saying like I'm making fun of her or anything, but there are people with like worse conditions that get in. I don't see that as an issue. In regards to your own personal story, I mean, you had it when you were younger. Now, you know, you grew out of it. So I would check with the recruiter, number one, and also when you get to MEPS, and just check with them again. But it shouldn't be a problem, in my opinion. So next question comes from future sailor Osuna. In regards to my own personal plans after 5 years, and also how much money will I have. So in regards to money, like I said in my previous videos, you are like, I'm an E1, the bottom of the totem pole, and I am able to consistently save $1,000 at bare minimum each month, and sometimes I can save even more. And so even when I go on deployments, you know, you're given money and it's tax free, so you will be able to save much more, right? So what are my plans after 5 years, and how much money will I have? So my current plan is to try to do 3 years. In the Navy, in the military in general, there is what's called an early release program, where overmanned rates, if, for example, my rate, a logistics specialist, you know, if there's too many of logistics specialists like it is this year, they will honorably discharge the amount of people that want to voluntarily get out of the Navy. And so I want to do, after 3 years, apply for the early release discharge, and then I will still have my Montgomery GI Bill. And to answer the question, how much money will I have, you know, $1,000 times 3 years, that's $36,000 at bare minimum. I project more because, you know, once I go on deployments, all this kind of stuff, I will be able to save more because it's tax free. And also, you know, you get tax money, all that kind of stuff. So as long as you save properly, you spend wisely, you don't spend on like stupid things like buying a car, you should be fine. So next question comes from future sailor Coyle, and after that I'm going to pause this video and connect it with another, so this video is not too long. Because when I post like a 20-minute video and I upload it, it takes like 10 hours to upload. So I want to do it separately. So anyway, going back to the question, Future Sailor Coyle asks about DEP Test. So if you haven't watched my DEP Test video, links in the description down below. And you know, the question was, other than the start guide, is there anything that you need to know in regards to the DEP Test? Yes, when you are in boot camp, the first week, you take the DEP Test. So everything that leads until that point, when the day one when you're in boot camp, you know, they're going to give you different materials to study, like the books and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to give you, hey, this is what you need to know, and this is, you know, your chain of command and all that kind of stuff. You need to know all that. You know, everything that leads up to that point where you take the test is what you need to know, and that is not in the start guide. Okay? So, next question comes from Futurist Sailor Walton. And he asked, is there a split program to future sailors to get started? So, to my knowledge, there isn't any like split programs. The only thing that is, to my knowledge, that is close to like the Navy boot camp and military style is the NJROTC, which after you take that, when you are still in high school, you would come into boot camp, in Navy boot camp, the real thing, being an E3, which gives you an advantage over other people. So, I mean, it's not going to give you like specific, like, hey, I have an extra medal kind of thing, but, you know, you're just an E3 right off the bat coming out of high school compared to other people, which is a good thing. So, next question comes from Mr. Janil4, and he asks, do I get days off? Yes, when it's a government holiday, you get days off. And also there's like special days in between, you might get out early, and also if everyone works properly, you might get day off early too. So hold on, let me turn off the video. Alright, so connecting to it. So, and also there's no work on the weekends unless you have duty. And duty is, you might be thinking, huh, you said duty. No, not that kind of duty. The duty, what I mean is like watches. So in a ship, you know, someone needs to be on alert, someone needs to be on watch in the ship, and all other people get to sleep and all that kind of stuff. So if you have duty on Saturdays, weekends, I mean, then you would, you know, be in the ship and stand duty, and you would technically be working if there's like sudden flooding, and then you would be called, all that kind of stuff. So also the question he also asks is there free time after work? You know, how long is the free time? So it depends. I mean, once you're on deployment, you're 12 hours on, 12 hours off. But when it's not on deployment, like days like what I'm doing right now, you're just working in the ship. You know, I work close to 12 hours. I mean, it's currently right now it's 11 hours. Like I said in my previous Yoon's talk video, but it's actually got extended a little bit more. So it's like 11.5 hours work. So I mean, you add on like, you know, 30 minutes to travel back to home to where you want to sleep, and then add back in, like, you know, if you want to sleep for 8 hours, that's like 20 hours, and you might have 4 hours of free time if you want to be well rested. But recently, like this whole week, I've only gotten maybe 5 hours of sleep each and every single day. So I am a little bit tired, and I do take power naps, which does help. Power naps, just a quick tip, do it for 20 minutes. Power nap, 20 minutes. You don't want to do any more because then you fall into sleeping mode. But if you want to do 20 minutes, that's the best power nap that I found in my own research and experiment. So, next question comes from Future Sailor King in regards to USAA or Navy Fed. So I have covered this topic before in regards to banking. Links down in the description down below in regards to that video where I go a little bit more in depth. But in just a pure, you know, small essence, it doesn't really. If you're in for the Navy for 4, 5, or 6 years, like I am, you know, I don't get. In my personal opinion, don't get other banks. You don't want to, because if you're going to go back home right? You're not going to be in the Navy for 20 years. If you're going to be in the Navy for 20 years, then okay, I recommend a military bank, right? But if you're going to be in it for 4, 5, or 6 years for a short period of time, and you're going to go back home, and where you're going to be using your hometown bank, and Navy Fed and USAA is not available, then it doesn't make sense, in my opinion, to get those type of bank, because I'm going to go back home where I can use my Bank of America, where you want to have your money finances in one area, because if you split it up into multiple different savings accounts, checkings accounts, now you end up with like 3, 4, 5, or 6 credit cards and like multiple debit cards, and that's the fear of getting into debt sometimes for a lot of people, right? So avoid that. Keep it simple. Keep one thing at a time. That's my personal opinion. So next question comes from future Sailor Duffey, in regards to if you have a degree and you go to boot camp. If you have a degree and then you join, do you go to boot camp and then OCS, Officer Candidate School? No. If you have a degree and then, let's say you want to go enlisted first, you want to try out the enlisted life, then you would go to the normal boot camp, and then you would spend a certain number of years, a certain number of time, and then if you want to apply for Officer Candidate School, then you would put in the STA 21 package, State 21 package, where you would send it up, write it up, and if they approve it, then you will go to Officer Candidate School. But if not, if you graduate out of college and then you join, then you would just go to Officer Candidate School right away. You wouldn't go to boot camp and then Officer Candidate School. That wouldn't make sense. You would just go to Officer Candidate School, which is like boot camp for officers, for new people in the Navy. So that's where you would go. And the contract duration is, from my knowledge, 6 years at bare minimum for all officers. Alright, so next question comes from future Sailor Edmonds. He asks, is there skills that they are looking for in a Master at Arms, or MA, or any rate in general? So the only thing that you need for a specific rate in general and for all branches is, number one, you need to have the Asvab score, and number two, you need to be able to pass the physical portion of, let's say, PFA, or if you're on the nuke program, they want you to be at a certain physical standard when you go to the nuke program, so being able to pass those. So this question specifically in regards to Master at Arms, MA, no, you develop the skills once you go to A school and they teach you about the rate, they teach you about the job. There you develop the skills. But before then, you don't really need any skills. It's not like a job interview where they sit down with you and say, hey, what qualifies you for this job? What qualifies you for this job is your Asvab score and you being healthy and being able to pass. So next question comes from future Sailor Souza again, and he asks he is 16 years young and he took the Asvab, or is taking the Asvab, and then the recruiter said you need to take it again at 17. So is this like a new rule or whatever? Recruiters go to C school for recruiting, so my best advice and recommendation is to listen to the recruiter, because they're going to know most up-to-date rules and regulations, because they're the ones doing the proper paperwork. But it's actually an advantage if you take ASVAB more than once. So if you take it once at 16, now to give you an example, let's say I'll use myself as an example. Let's say I'm taking a math test right now, and then I need to take this math test, and then, the better score I get, the more jobs I qualify for, right? But I can take one when I'm 16 years young, and it's not going to really count. But I still take the same test a year later when I'm 17. Now you know exactly what's on the test. So once you take it the first time, maybe you'll get 90%. But now you know exactly what's on the test. And then you look at the jobs and you see, what's ASVAB score you need for a specific job. Now you can study up on it, and then a year later when you're 17, take the same exact test, and then once you improved your knowledge in regards to ASVAB, everything, take it again, and then you get, like, let's say 100%, which is a good thing. If you take ASVAB more than once, it's always a good thing, in my opinion, once you study up for it and once you know exactly what score you need to get for the job that you want. Alright, so next question comes from future sailor Nguyen. He is 6 feet and 147 pounds. Should you gain more weight for boot camp? So specifically for you future sailor Nguyen, I mean, it doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. I mean, and if you're wondering, hey, should I gain more weight or should I lose more weight, and you're wondering that before you go to boot camp, it doesn't really matter at all. In my honest opinion, it doesn't matter at all if you gain weight or you lose weight. So next question comes from SScyth, SScyth, and in regards to the transition from A school to the fleet. So my own personal experience in regards to the transition from A school to the fleet. And what I can tell you is, when you are in A school, the quality of living is pretty well. It's pretty good. When you get there, you might feel like, oh man, this place sucks. But I can tell you, I can promise you, the A school base, the quality of living is going to be pretty good. When I was in A school in Meridian, Mississippi for logistics specialist, the beds were like outstanding. The environment, the base, the facility was top notch in my personal opinion. I loved it there. I loved it there. And I get here and the bed, like when I was in A school, the bed was like, you know, like this thick, and then the springs were like on here, and then there's a cushion which is like really comfortable. But I get here and I'm living here and the bed is like this thick and it's a spring, so I'm sleeping on springs, which is not the most comfortable thing. And also, like, there's other different factors, but what I can tell you is the quality from A school to fleet, and in terms of maybe living standard, is going to go down in my personal opinion. Alright, so next question comes from future sailor Lee, and in regards to when can you live with your family. So if you have a family, if you're married and you have a family, you know, when can you start to live with your family? So if I was married, how I would go about that process is I would go to my chain of command, and then I would fill out the proper paperwork. Hey, I have a family, I want to live here with my family in a specific area, in this house or whatever, and then write that paper up, and then it's up to them if they want to approve it. For the most part, they're going to approve it, and then, you know, once they approve it, you get the funding, and then you would go, bring your family, and then you would live happily ever after. And so next question comes from Guy Greenleaf in regards to, do I know anything about YNs and PSs? So yes, they are actually in the same school with LSs, and that's something that I wish I looked more into, YNs and PSs, like paper pushers. I was very interested in that field. But PSs, they work with finances for the most part, or like contract. But for the most part, finances. So like if you have any financial issues, like, hey, I'm not getting paid, you know, what's the deal with that? But the thing with PSs is, like, I've asked some PSs about like financial questions and they don't know anything about it, which is so weird, because, you know, they went to A school but they don't know anything about finances. Like I asked them, hey, you know, I got paid for this. You know, what is this? Like, you know, debt, like, I don't know, I forgot what it was, but, you know, I asked like PS questions, like financial questions, and they couldn't answer, so it like fogged my mind. But anyway, and YNs do a lot of like clerical work, like paperwork for like offices, all that kind of stuff. So next question comes from future sailor Hernandez. So a lot of questions. So if you have like 2 last names, which is common, if you have 2 last names, would it all fit? Yes, you would just be called, like when I was in A school, there was a guy, he had like 16 letters in his last name, and then it was like difficult to say, so we just called him C16. And like that's what you can expect if you have like difficult last and ridiculously long name. And there were also people that had double last names, but then for some reason they just had one of their last name. So you want to make sure your paperwork are properly filled out. And make sure, so check with your recruiter, make sure your works are filled out. And if your name is wrong, like when you get to boot camp and you're going to get the patches and your uniform sewn on and your name is wrong, just say it, hey, this is not my name, I want my full name on there correctly. So make sure you do that, take care of that, because once you're out of boot camp, I mean, then you're going to be paying for it out of your own pocket to get your full name on there. So also, next question by future sailor Hernandez is, can your recruiters deny you RAP duty? If they really wanted to, I mean, yes, they could if they really wanted to, but for the most part, they're not. I haven't heard of anyone getting denied RAP duty. And RAP duty is basically once you finish A school, you get 5 days to work with your recruiters. So you get to go back home and then go visit your local recruiter where you work for them. For the most part, if your recruiters are cool, they're going to say like, hey, all right, just come in, work for 30 minutes, and then go back home, spend time with your family. Because, you know, that's what RAP duty is, you know, to spend time with your family. So they could technically deny it if they really wanted to, but for the most part, I haven't heard anyone being denied RAP duty. And also, can you wear makeup and uniform after boot camp? Yes, you can. There's specific regulations in terms of also dyeing your hair, nail polish, and all that kind of stuff. There are specific regulations that are going to go over with you in boot camp. So if you're a female watching this, you can ask all your questions to the female petty officers or chiefs when you get to boot camp in regard to like nail polish, hair, and like wear makeup and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so also future sailor Hernandez asked, can you wear your dress whites or blues for prom or, you know, any specific occasions? Yes, you can. I've seen people wear their dress whites and blues for weddings. I've seen them wear for like just, you know, going to church, all that kind of stuff. So yes, you can, if you so choose to, they can wear it for prom. And last question comes from future sailor King. So future sailor King asks, tips for beginners in the gym. So my personal recommendation is you want to do a lot of calisthenic exercises. What I mean by calisthenics is, you know, push-ups, sit-ups, and running. So not a lot of weightlifting, not a lot of, you know, doing like, you know, lifting 10 million pounds. No, that is not going to really help you in boot camp, because in boot camp, it's all about calisthenics. It doesn't matter if you can, you know, curl 10 million pounds, but people can't do push-ups, right? I know a lot of people that can, you know, bench press like 500 pounds, but, you know, when it comes to doing pull-ups, they can't do pull-ups as much as I can. And I can only do like 90 pounds of bench pressing. So make sure you do a lot of calisthenic workouts, and also do a lot of, my recommendation when you first begin, try to work out 15 to 30 minutes. If you haven't never worked out before, you know, take it easy, take it small. And then, you know, once you like, so start by 15 to 30 minutes for, let's say, a week. And then, you know, next week, do maybe the same amount of time, but a little bit more intense. And then start to increase the duration or increase the intensity. And then, you know, start experimenting with different things and see what works for you. My workout style is not going to work for you, because how I like to work out is maybe not the same as how you like to work out, right? So you have to find out what works for you. And to find out what works for you, you just have to try many different things. And so I also recommend like group workouts. So like Zumba, or if you have an LA Fitness, they might have a group workout session. So I recommend group workouts if you have access to a YMCA and all that kind of stuff. And so that concludes the third Q&A session of January. Thank you for watching. I know it's been a very long video. I hope you have a great Navy day.